All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Housing Authority being called to order at 3:06 p.m. May we have roll call for City Council?
Yes, council members Asadrian. Here. Brotman.
Here.
Karpetian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Mayor Kasakian.
Here. And we need roll call for Housing Authority?
Housing Authority members Asadrian.
Here.
Brotman.
Here.
Karpetian.
Here.
Kasakian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Parazian. And Chair Ajinian.
Here.
Thank you. Let's have the reports, please, for both bodies.
Yes, the agenda for Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, joint public meeting of the City Council and Housing Authority was posted on April 24th, 2026 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
All right, thank you. And please read the item before us into the record.
Yes, we have item 1, community development regarding report on emergency housing choice voucher transition plan. A, city council motion directing staff on the Section 8 waitlist strategy. B, council motion approving the Parkview selection plan. C, council motion approving the tiered prioritization strategy and approving the deployment of available local and regional resources, homeless services funds as a temporary subsidy to prevent immediate displacement for the most vulnerable households. We do have 2 public speakers on this item.
Okay, we will first hear the report of staff, and then after that, we will hear from the public, and then we will commence with council questions, deliberations, although my colleagues will be able to ask questions as we go along if they need clarification on a particular item or point brought up by the staff. Mr. Galanian.
Yes, good afternoon. Mayor Kasakian, members of City Council, Chair Ajinian, members of the Housing Authority. You're all familiar with this issue that we are trying to address this afternoon, and you will shortly hear a presentation with a proposed strategy for managing the federal wind down of the emergency housing voucher, or EHV program, aimed at preventing displacement of 188 vulnerable households, and it's based on 4 tiers of priority. Our housing division staff have also identified approximately $4.1 million in potential funding sources, but as a temporary measure. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Sipan Zadorian, our housing supervisor, for the presentation, Mike Fortney, our deputy director of community development and housing division staff, as well as Jack Wong, our interim community development director, are available for questions. Mr. Zadorian.
My apologies, but my computer is frozen.
Ooh.
And I would need to restart it.
Okay, well, while we're waiting for that restart, the PowerPoint presentation that council will be referring to should be available online. Am I correct in that? Mr. Galanian or staff? It is. It is available?
City clerk would have the answer to that.
I just recently received it, so I haven't had a chance to upload it. I could upload it right now.
Okay. I do want to take the opportunity to let everyone know and staff, like, let's try to at least, when, I know that the public will get it when we get it as well, but if we can get it ahead of time, it's better. Please bear with us while we see if we're able to fix, there we go. All right. No sooner had I spoken than we're back online. All right.
Are we ready?
Please proceed.
All right. Mayor Kasakian, Chair Ajinian, City Council and Housing Authority. As the city manager just mentioned, this report is on the Emergency Housing Choice Voucher Program and its wind down. We are looking for some direction from Council and the Housing Authority on next steps for the program. It's been an issue that's been discussed before, but we are here with some options for Council's consideration. Can we please have the next slide? So the Housing Choice Voucher Program, commonly known as the Section 8 program, is a federally funded program administered through the Housing Authority. The City of Glendale receives vouchers from the federal government to administer in Glendale. In Glendale, we have 2,500 vouchers, 2,572. Our annual budget for administering the regular Section 8 voucher program is $51 million and some change. Currently, we have a waiting list of 722 applicants. The last time the waiting list was opened is in 2001. These are the same individuals from back then. Originally, when the waiting list opened, we had roughly 20,000 individuals apply. Since then, it's dwindled down to 722. The program provides rental subsidies for those who receive it to close the gap between what rents they pay and market rate rents, or payment standards in this case. So part of the, a newer part of the Section 8 program is what's called the Emergency Housing Voucher. These vouchers were a part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. They were targeted towards vulnerable residents throughout the country. The program was established as a temporary program that would sunset in 2030. Because of increasing rents, changes in payment standards, that timeline has drastically decreased. And the latest estimates, according to HUD, is end of calendar year 2026. We have verbal confirmation of this from HUD, but they have not, in black and white, provided us concrete end date for Glendale specifically. That's why we cannot tell our residents that you have until calendar year 2026 before the program winds down. The 188 individuals that we serve currently did receive letters informing them that due August, the program would wind down. Pending further notice from HUD, we will stick to that tentative date. I jumped a little bit ahead, but we have 188 EHV vouchers at the moment. Originally, we were issued 225 when the program first started. Our monthly HAP obligation for the program is $347,000. HAP is the Housing Authority payment towards the rent, our portion of the payment towards the rent that we cover. And on a monthly basis for these 188, it's $300,047. Our annual budget for the EHV program is $4.17 million. This is the obligation we have to cover these 188 in the households. So, as I described earlier, funding for the program has ended earlier than expected. And in order to address the EHVs, HUD has come up with several PIH notices, options available. But before we discuss those, we have to take into consideration a scenario on the funding level where the federal government has increased their budget in what's called a TPV voucher, tenant protection voucher. It's a similar voucher to the emergency housing voucher, the HCV voucher. It's just another funding source for HUD, so a separate type of voucher. They've increased this in the THUD bill, the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development bill. It received a $300 million increase nationwide. This money in the bill was noted that it may potentially be used to address the EHV wind down. But since that bill passing, HUD has not issued any notice to staff or the Housing Authority on how that's going to occur, how many vouchers we will receive, if we will receive any vouchers. So we don't have a definitive response on if TPVs will be available. But if they will, it will be a big step in supporting the EHVs long-term. This is one of the only long-term options we have. The others are state funding, which we've reached out to the state asking for $3.6 million in funding. We're advocating for a one-time allocation of a statewide forgivable loan of $500 million. So we are trying to find pathways for a permanent solution, but there is no, at the moment, there's no guaranteed permanent pathway. So we've brought you several options that somewhat address the issue in the meantime. So in our preparation for the report, we've reached out to several housing authorities to understand how they're addressing the issues, where they are with the problem. Originally, we reached out to a handful of housing agencies with a detailed questionnaire. Since then, we've broadened that survey to over 50 housing agencies. We haven't received a response from all of them, but in general, it seems like most of us are in the same situation. So, and that situation is that while there are options available for housing authorities to address the EHVs, a lot of them are, what's the word you use, Mike?
Well, they're choosing.
Right, so the options that these housing agencies have decided to go with is asking for a waiver and placing them on the wait list. So while that might seem like a solution, it is a symbolic solution, as in when the EHVs run out, and if your agency cannot support your current vouchers, or they cannot support 489, for example, Orange County, or 53 for Burbank, they will just be sitting on the wait list. Asking for a waiver and placing them on the wait list does nothing to address the issue. It is a symbolic gesture to say that they've done something, and most of these agencies have done that. Those who are in shortfall cannot draw from that wait list. We are in a shortfall. We cannot draw from that from our wait list. We will go into that a little bit later. Most of these agencies are in similar situations. There are very few agencies that can absorb every single one of their EHV residents. We'd be surprised if LA County can absorb 2,700 residents, and speaking to them, they have no plan to immediately absorb all that. So the strategy is you put them on your wait list, and as funding becomes available, you draw them from the wait list. That's what we've understood has been the case for many of the agencies that we've surveyed. So why can't we put them on our program, our active program? Why can't Glendale transition its EHVs into our regular Section 8 program? To answer, and we've brought this up before, is we are in a shortfall. At the moment, we have a $700,000 shortfall. What shortfall means is that we have more money dedicated to providing HAP payments to our residents than the HUD is reimbursing us for. So at the moment, we are in a $700,000 shortfall. 2 years ago, we were in a $2 million shortfall. Before the $700,000, which was communicated to us verbally by HUD, we received a letter from HUD saying that we were in $1 million shortfall. The $700,000 shortfall is a recent update. So this is the major reason why we cannot absorb, because we just can't afford to pay our current HCV, let alone 188 new residents. So, of course,
Sure. Councilmember Brotman.
Sorry, I have a question. So going back to the housing choice vouchers, the regular Section 8 vouchers, you said we have 722 on the wait list. How many were we moving? What's been our run rate? How many have we been moving off every year?
I believe in the last year or two, none. So in the last year or two, we have not been, because we are in a shortfall, we're not allowed to draw from our wait list.
But I thought every year, I mean, we have some attrition, right? We have some people move, some people
Right.
pass away, some people,
Right.
So I thought every year there are a handful that we
As
we
part
can
of our
move.
agreement, the shortfall set aside I was going to go into, we cannot draw from our wait list until we are no longer in a shortfall. So at the moment, and for the past 2 years, we have not been able to draw from our wait list. Am I correct in saying
So
that?
zero off of the wait list because we're in a shortfall. So even if somebody, let's say, moves away from the area, gives up that voucher, we just bank the voucher. There's nothing we can do.
Right,
We
our
can't
voucher
release
count,
it.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then, so this idea of transferring the EHVs to the HCV waiting list. Now, those people would not, like when I think of a waiting list, I think, you go to the bottom of the waiting list, but that's not how it would work. It would be dependent on their particular conditions. They would get placed at the appropriate place on the waiting list based on the points that they have, right?
Right, that is an option we can discuss. It is later on in the presentation, but yes, that is an
But
option.
even if we were to give a preference to say somebody that was recently homeless or somebody that is at risk of being homeless or such and such, we could move them to the top of the list, but they're still not really going to get placed as long as we're in a shortfall is
Correct.
what's happening. I get it now. Okay, thanks.
All right, so,
Yes, Councilmember Garpetian, and then Chair Ajinian.
So explain the shortfall to me one more time. You said it's $700,000 more than the budget that we have, basically, right? State gives us so much, $50 million, $51 million. We are $700,000 over that. How do we fund that?
So the next part of the presentation, we apply for a shortfall set aside. So every year, HUD comes to us and says, you're in a shortfall, you need to stop drawing, or in this case, we've been in for 2 years, so we haven't been drawing. But they come to us and say, you're in a shortfall. And then they give us options to address that shortfall. One of those options is applying for a shortfall set aside, Category 1 prevention of termination due to insufficient funding. We apply for this. HUD takes a look at our numbers and says, these are the things that you need to do to address the shortfall, and they ultimately decide whether we receive approval for that shortfall. In the last 2 years, we have been getting that set aside, so that's how we address the shortfall. We apply for a set aside and HUD approves it, or has been approved.
Chair Ginian.
Yeah, real quickly. Do we have a mechanism or some kind of a procedure from a regional peer-to-peer if somebody wants to move to Glendale even though we have shortfall?
Yes, the portability process is what it's called. And in that process, the agency where the individual is coming from is funding that voucher.
Oh, okay.
Right? So even if we're in a shortfall, they can't port into our agency because that money is not ours. The other agent, the Burbank,
So the
Pasadena.
door's not closed just because we have a shortfall?
Right, you can always port anywhere in the United States.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Right? So the options available to council outside of putting all these individuals into our active program is placing them on the current wait list. As I mentioned, there are currently 722 individuals on that wait list. There are several ways of adding the EHVs onto the wait list. One of them is asking for a HUD waiver, which has been brought up several times. The waiver, all it would do is allow staff to place the 188 onto the wait list, no complications. Council can decide on preference points. If no preference points, they would be meshed in with the current list. So the placement would fall wherever their current status falls within our point system that exists on the current wait list. So senior, disabled, single, Glendale resident, low income. The other option is to open the wait list specifically for the 188 and allow them to apply to be placed on the wait list. Again, in this scenario, you have the option for preference points, no preference points. With preference points, you can elect to put the 188 over the 722 in our wait list. That is a policy decision. You do have to consider that these individuals have been waiting for over 25 years. So there's a balance between the 188 and the 722 that are, The last option is deferring action. Because we don't know how the TPVs will address the EHVs, council can defer action and have us come back if and when we receive definitive word from HUD saying this is how you should address your TPVs, if they cover EHVs, if they don't, if we receive other sort of permanent funding from the federal government or state government. I know it's been made to seem like this waiver needs to happen now or never, but we have not received any direction from HUD giving us any sort of deadline as to when this waiver needs to happen. So there is no rush to administer this waiver. We can do it later because, as we said earlier, this is a symbolic gesture. It does not solve our issue after the EHV runs out. All it does is place them on the wait list. Once they're on the wait list, we still have to get out of shortfall and start withdrawing from our wait list. So there is no immediate resolution by placing them on the wait list with a waiver or without.
Councilmember Al-Satrian?
Are we able to resolve the shortfall on our own? Like if we were to give a certain amount or the amount from our own funds or borrow from one of our own funds? Or does that have to be just through voucher reduction only?
Well, I'm not entirely sure if we can address it through our own funds. I'm sure HUD would be happy if we did that, but that does not mean we have additional funding moving forward. If we address the shortfall, all that means is that we are going to be paying for the current pool of people that we are assisting. We would have to add additional funding on top of that if we want to address the 188. 4.1 million to be exact, if we want to address the 188
Okay,
annually.
thank you.
Is it, so my question is, you explained about what this would do. You're laying out the steps. What prevents us from just asking for a written clarification from HUD on these issues that are absolutely critical for us to make a good decision, or the best decision facing a lot of bad outcomes potentially?
Mayor Kasakian, we have reached out to HUD multiple times. It's a nationwide issue, and I believe they're waiting for definitive responses for everyone, not just specifically Glendale, before they address it. There's several things that we might not be aware of happening at the state level. I believe there are staffing issues with HUD, but we have asked. It's just the fact we have not received definitive responses from an authority we're comfortable with. We have reached out.
I'm not saying that we haven't reached out. I'm just trying to say, I know that you mentioned a couple of times information was passed on verbally. Verbal information can be very easy to dismiss or step away, distance oneself from, saying, I never said that, right? We get caught in a he said, she said situation. My question would be, have we tried, or is it worth trying, and asking my colleagues as well, to ask for our federal representatives on the Senate and local House level to intervene on our behalf to be able to get those answers?
I believe that's a path worth taking if we do not receive anything within the next few weeks. We were expecting a response in April, early April. That never materialized. Now the word is sometime in May. So we're hopeful that we receive some direction as far as the TPVs and a few other things before then. To that point, we actually recently received an update, PIH notice regarding the shortfall on how to apply for a shortfall for this year. So staff will be looking into that. We just received it. We haven't had the opportunity to analyze it, but we did receive just a few hours ago a notice that a PIH notice was published and on how to address the current $700,000 shortfall.
Okay, thank you. Proceed.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah,
no, I have
Councilmember Brown.
one question. So right on this slide here, these three options. I know I asked this in the briefing, and I'm still a little confused about these, number 1 and 2. I see procedurally they're different, but what's the end result? Is there a difference in terms of where we end up? I mean, in either case, we have the HV voucher holders on the HCV waiting list. Is there something different that ends up happening?
Councilmember Brotman, with option 2, it's possible that some individuals don't apply. So it might be a number that's much less. But the easier route would be the waiver, to place everyone without complicating the situation, without having to reach out to all 188, have them fill out applications. The waiver would be the administratively easier route to take.
I see.
The other option is it would open it up and individuals could apply if they choose.
Because the second one says with preference point ranking system. So under number 1, we can still,
Yes, I
there's
believe.
no difference in the preference point ranking system necessarily.
No, there shouldn't be. You
Okay.
can still apply preference points. If council chooses to go this route and gives us direction on this, we can come back with a detailed report on how the preference points would work, how meshing the lists could impact the current list, and a much more detailed presentation on this option specifically.
Okay. Thanks.
Councilmember Najarian.
Did he fin, did
Is
Stephen
it a
finish?
question or a comment? Because we're allowed to ask questions for clarification.
Yes, just a few questions. The American, what was it called,
Rescue Act.
Rescue Act was implemented as a result of the COVID
Yes.
COVID crisis. Prior to the implementation of that, where were these 188 families or 188 households?
I can't specifically speak to all 188, but I can say that some of them were in our shelters, Ascensia. Some of the way the list is defined is at risk of being homeless, literally homeless, recently homeless, and then fleeing violence. So depending on the reason that they applied for the program. They could have been in several different places, whether that's coming through the YWCA, Ascensia, Door of Hope. I can't specifically speak to all 188, but we've received referrals from different agencies in order to serve them.
Was there a requirement that their situation be caused by COVID?
At the time, I
Loss
don't
of
believe
job
so.
or illness or whatever?
No,
Or
no
this was open
requirement.
to anyone who was having homeless, housing difficulties?
Homeless or at risk. So if you had received an eviction, you would qualify for this program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's proceed, and then we can break for more questions. Perhaps some of our questions may be answered in the rest of the presentation.
So one of the other options that is currently available for you is placing, we have a project currently, the Parkview Glendale project, that has 11 openings. Council may elect to place 11 seniors from the 188 to this project. There's 70 seniors on the current EHV program. Out of those 70, you can place 11 of them into this project if you choose to. A little bit of a background on Parkview. If you want to take this one out. Our assistant director is going to take this one. He's better informed on the.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, Housing Authority Chair, Housing Authority Board members, Michael Fortney, Acting Assistant Director for Community Development. Parkview Glendale is one of two projects that we have currently in construction. It's slated to be completed in June of this year. This project, like every other project, we gap fund the project. We typically gap fund projects with home dollars and other dollars. In this one, we gap funded it with, I believe, $2.2 million in home ARP dollars. That was a one-time allocation to us, home ARP. Staff at the time thought that we understood the nuances between regular home and home ARP. There are considerable nuances between the two funding sources, but only recently did we discover that home ARP, a big difference between the two. We cannot dictate a minimum income for these 11 units that we funded with the home ARP, unlike a regular home. So typically we will require between 2 and 2.5 times monthly rent as a minimum income. And that's to keep the project stable financially. In this case, the 11 households that would move into these units may have zero income and pay no rent, or minimal income and pay less than what was penciled to make the project pencil. So we are seeing that regardless of the EHV situation, regardless of that, we do have a gap on Parkview Glendale. We're estimating it to be about $220,000, upwards of $800,000. It just depends on who actually moves into those 11 units. So what we're suggesting here is that we take 11 of the 70 seniors that are receiving AHVs and we move them in. And then once we determine their incomes, we can then calculate the gap on that project and then bring a separate staff report to you requesting those dollars to additionally gap Parkview.
And, sorry, should have addressed this earlier.
Let's just wait until.
The report gave council two options for picking the 188, and 11 from the 188. Well, 70. But recently, HUD informed us that those options may not be appropriate. They informed us that the better option would be to open up a lottery for the 70 that do qualify, the 70 seniors, and pick an 11 based on a lottery instead of the two options that we presented. The options we presented to you, we picked a group who were most financially capable to cover that gap, so it would be $221,000, more towards that. And we picked a group that was exclusively the oldest in our population. Those are where the ranges for those two numbers come. But HUD told us that that option is not feasible. Go for a lottery and have a lottery of those 70 and a pick from that 11. Are there any questions for this option?
Yes, I believe Councilmember Al-Satrian, but Councilmember Brotman also had a question. Councilmember Brotman and Councilmember Al-Satrian.
Well, with just the term feasible, I wanted you to clarify. Does that mean they're telling us we can't do it because it's against some kind of guidelines or something else?
Yes, that's basically it. They're
Okay.
recommending we don't take that route, yes.
Recommending, or
Yes.
it just sounds kind of funny.
It's not often that you get a definitive answer from HUD staff. So
So they're saying if we do it, we may be taking a risk,
of
so we
finding-
shouldn't try that. Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
If you want the cleaner, easier route, the safer route, you would just open up to the 70 seniors and run a lottery on them.
All right, I see.
Okay. Councilmember Al-Satrian, and then Councilmember Garpetian, and Councilmember Najarian. Okay, Garpetian.
The 11 units, they do not have to have minimum, there's no minimum requirement, right, as far as their salaries go or their income goes, right?
That's right.
That's why the HUD is saying, put everything in a pool and draw a lot, because if you have that minimum requirement and somebody wins the lottery and they don't, qualify, then you're out and the next one is in. So there is no minimum requirement as far as their income goes.
Not for home ARP, no.
Got it, okay.
One question, wasn't a lottery already conducted for these Parkview? And people's names have been pulled, and now we're gonna say, possibly say, you know what, forget that lottery, we've got our own thing we're gonna do.
Right, you're right. For Parkview, we do have a tenant selection plan, but it was always envisioned that we would treat the 11 home ARP units separate from the rest of them. So the lottery that was done is for the 56 other affordable units in the project.
So no one has been selected for those 11?
We're going through that process now, but not for the 11, no, not for the 11.
And so just for clarification, I'm understanding correctly, within the larger project, 11 units were set aside for what may be more simply put, extremely low income seniors, correct?
Primarily at risk for homeless, but other categories as well.
Yes. But all way below whatever the other unit minimum is. You were mentioning about the income levels. This is for people you said who may not even have income.
Yes, the people that move in may have roughly on par, same income as the other units, or they may have no income,
Okay.
or somewhere in between.
All right. Thank you.
And there is no ranking, like ABC,
What we suggest doing is a lottery.
Okay.
So there would be no preference, there would be no picking
For those
winners.
11 I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
just like the remaining units. Staff doesn't pick winners or losers, do a random lottery.
Okay, please proceed.
So the other option available for council is locally funding a temporary program with home funds and homeless services funds. Staff has identified roughly 4.1 million in funds that we may use if council chooses to temporarily subsidize the EHV residents once funding ends. We will go into detail on how to address prioritizing the 188, what scenarios council can choose from. Because funding is finite, we've come up with a tiered system prioritizing, in one case, the most vulnerable residents in the 188, in another case, prioritizing based on senior status. This is the tiered prioritization. So for option one, it's a balanced approach, meshing seniors with families with children. So tier one exclusively has disabled seniors who are receiving 15% or whose income is 15% or less in area median income, who were homeless or fleeing violence and who are Glendale residents. Tier two has a mesh of families with children, income below 30% AMI. This also captures anyone over 70. I can go through all the tiers if you'd like, but this left side is basically prioritizing balanced prioritization for families and seniors. The numbers in the parentheses represent how many people fall into those tiers. how many households fall into those tiers. Option 2 is exclusively seniors for the top 2 tiers. And again, the numbers represent how many households are in those tiers. If you'd like, I can go into more detail on this, but the tiered system is basically designed to help council prioritize the most vulnerable in the population. And in the next slide, we show several scenarios of how the tiers can be applied. So if council chooses to subsidize all 188 households temporarily, they can cover both option 1 and option 2 for a year. If they choose to only subsidize tier 1 and 2, 30 months, tier 1, 2, 3, 14 months, just tier 1, 94 months of additional assistance. The other options are a mix of covering all 188 for 3 months, and then tier 1 and 2 for 21 months, covering all 188 for 6 months, and then covering tier 1 and 2 for 14 months. So there's several variations that council can apply. You're not locked into any of these options. However council wants to address this, if you are interested in providing temporary subsidy, these are some of the scenarios and how long that subsidy would last.
Okay. Councilmember Asseltine and Councilmember Garpetian.
Projects like the Pioneer project that are still, we're almost to the tail end, I would hope, of the construction. I know 92 of those units, correct me if I'm wrong, are for seniors. Are they already allocated to individuals, or is there opportunity for us with some of these upcoming projects that we have to be able to place at least the seniors or people that are within this 188 into those units that are coming up?
Yeah, appreciate the question, and we did look at Pioneer as an option. It has the lottery for all of the 340 units out there, including the 92 senior, that has already been conducted. We're receiving well over 150 applications that we're processing so far. So we're already in the process of approving these. The problem, again, would be if we were to place some of these EHV recipients into the Pioneer project, we're creating a gap on the project like we are at Parkview. So that was my reluctance to pursue that option.
Wouldn't the gap be less than us being, putting this kind of amount in only to cover, for example, 12 months for 188 families, or?
I suppose it would just depend on how many households we were able to help, what their incomes would be. It would just be math that I would have to try to figure that out.
Okay.
Any other?
Can you explain to me the tier 4? It says adults, able-bodied adults under 62 at risk status, higher income exceeding 30% of AMI. So they are not disabled, they're under 62, and they're able to work, basically. But what is the reason that they're on this program?
At the time when the program first was established, it's possible that they received an eviction. It's possible that they had some factor that qualified them for the program. I can't specifically speak to all 93, but they do qualify for the program because at risk was a criteria.
Yeah, because I want to be fair to everyone, but if you're a senior and your spouse passed away and you're single, senior, and disabled, I think there's no other way for that individual to find a job or find more revenues to survive than someone who's under 62 and is able to work and everything. So I think we need to take that into consideration as well.
So there are other options that staff explored. One of them was the Hamilton Court project, and we are still evaluating this option. Around December, January, 8 units will come online to specifically assist women who are fleeing violence. We are still trying to figure out the optics of this and whether we will be able to use these 8 units to address the 188, but it is an option we're exploring, although it is a temporary option, 15 to 24 months. But we are still looking into this one. The other option that staff explored was a single room occupancy concept. Staff visited a facility that currently houses physically and mentally disabled individuals. It's sort of a hospital. At the moment, it has 35 beds. In order to take over this facility and use it to address the 188 EHV residents, we would have to put, we believe, at least $250,000 in renovations to bring the project up to livable standards. At the moment, there's several shared bathrooms, so multiple rooms share a bathroom. In order to, in any situation, 2 individuals would share 1 bathroom, kitchen facilities. The landlord is asking for $35,000 to $40,000 in rent on a monthly basis. In addition to those costs, we have to consider utilities, insurance, security, management, and staff to manage, or caseworkers to manage the residents who are living in this facility. With those costs, we estimate somewhere between $60,000 to $70,000 on a monthly basis to house 35 units or 35 households. It's just not feasible, and staff does not recommend at this time pursuing this option. Do you have any questions?
Please continue. And by the way, while staff is completing the presentation, I want to read off the following names who have requested to speak on this item: Ani Cash, Beth Brooks, Linda Newmeyer, Emi Knofshadian, Liana Pawarnakian, and Rami. May Ani Cash, Ms. Brooks, and Linda please make their way to the front of the room, at least be a little closer rather than behind in the interest of time. There are plenty of available seats up front. So we'll be, once we're completed with the staff report, you'll be up to speak. Yes, go ahead, continue.
That pretty much wraps up my presentation. So we are seeking direction on a few areas. The waiting list, whether council wants us to pursue a waiver, open the waiting list, defer action at the moment. As I said earlier, this is not something that we need an immediate response on. We can come back to you on this subject. The other response that we need direction on, the other area that we need direction on is the Parkview Glendale. That is something we'd like to get direction on today, because we do need to, if we are going to conduct a lottery, we do need to begin that process. The project is nearly complete, and lease-up needs to start on that. The temporary subsidy, again, council can mull it over. It's not something that we need immediate direction on. But these are the areas that we would like some direction on. This wraps up the main portion of my presentation, but throughout these few months, weeks, we've received several comments that staff would like to take the opportunity to address. We can do that later after public comments, or I can go into that now if the Housing Authority and Council would like.
Go ahead, question from Councilmember Asatian.
Tier 4, that reads at-risk, able-bodied, and higher income under option 2. Do these include women who are fleeing domestic violence with children?
For women that are fleeing domestic violence, they would fall under Tier 3 for that option.
Okay, so there would not be anybody in that category
there shouldn't
in Tier
be, no.
4? Okay.
And I have one quick question
Member Brotman, please.
on that option 2 also. So if you add up the 3 tiers, that's 95 individuals. Now, if we took out the 11 to go to Parkview, then it would reduce that number, right?
Correct.
To 84. Okay. So then if it's 84, then in your scenario, your cost scenario, 84, if we just did scenario C for option 2, that 23 months might extend out a little bit more.
Yes, all of these would extend out further once you remove the 11,
Okay. So it looks like we can buy 2 years of time for the most vulnerable.
depending on if you choose to serve adjust specific tiers, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
So we now have some speakers who wish to address the Housing Authority and City Council on this item. There's been a request for a transfer of time to another speaker, and I'm asking our city attorney to remind me what our rules were. I believe we landed on allowing it if the person is here.
Allow it if the speaker receiving and the speaker giving are both in chambers, and you can only give only one person can give their time.
Yes, okay. So with that, Ani Kash, you will have time that was ceded to you by Ms. Brooks. Is that correct? Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Ms. Kash,
Mayor
podium is yours.
Kasagian?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Zadorian had offered to address questions more specifically from Ms. Cash in the past, so there may be some repetitive questions if you'd like him to address.
Let me
in
ask Ms.
advance.
Cash. Ms. Cash, would you like to hear the responses to some of the issues you had raised before you approached the podium? All right, then, Ms. Dorian, please proceed. And I would like to hear those as well, and I know my colleagues would also.
Can I please get the PowerPoint back up? So one of the major things that have been brought up to council several times is this perception that Glendale is doing nothing, everybody else is doing something. We want to set the record straight. Based on all the surveys, based on all the communication that we've had with several housing authorities, the only action that other housing authorities have taken that Glendale has not yet is asking for a waiver, placing them on the wait list. As I mentioned before, this does not address the EHVs once funding expires. All it does is place them on the wait list. So while the perception is that we have done nothing, the reality is we're on the same place as every other housing authority, because once funding ends, they're in the same situation as we are. So while it is an action, it is, again, what's the word? Symbolic action. So more to that, it's been brought up several times, PIH notice 2025-19. You will likely see this in the upcoming presentation, that this PIH notice addresses the EHVs, gives us a pathway to a solution, to a funding that is available. That's just not true. The PIH notice is on your right, it's on your right side, and it specifically says, in order to transition EHVs families into your HCV program, the PHA must have HCV unit months available. That basically means vouchers to use on EHV families. As we've mentioned several times, we are in a shortfall. We do not have additional vouchers that we can dedicate to EHVs. Yes.
Are other cities doing it, and do they have the vouchers available? Is that?
4 cities that do have vouchers available, which, again, it's rare. They are going that route, but that does not address every single EHV that they have in their program. So if they have 10 vouchers, they will address 10 EHVs.
Okay.
Depending on each housing agency's specific scenario. Ours, we are in a shortfall similar to other agencies, and we cannot absorb into our program,
Okay.
regardless of what the PIH notice says. So one other thing that has been brought up several times is this $188,000 that the city of Glendale is missing out on, the $180,000 that can be used to administer EHVs, save EHVs. This is a one-time administrative fee that HUD was giving housing agencies for transferring EHVs onto the HCV program and leasing up. So the every EHV that you leased up into your current HCV program, you would receive $1,000. It would amount to $188,000 if we had the capability to put everyone in our HCV program, which we don't. As I mentioned before, we are in a $700,000 shortfall. So next, we have the shortfall methodology that either has been brought up previously or will be brought up today. The 700,000 methodology, 700,000 shortfall methodology does not come from us. It is not an analysis that we've done. This comes from HUD. HUD tells us, you are in a shortfall. This is how much your shortfall is. Stop issuing vouchers. The letter that we have from HUD says we are $1 million in shortfall. But since then, HUD has communicated with us that $1 million is now $700,000 because of residents passing away, moving away, leaving the program. So the shortfall has decreased. The shortfall set aside, it's been brought up that we did not apply for a shortfall set aside. That is just untrue misrepresentation of facts. We did apply. We did receive it for last year. We will apply now that the recent PIH notice is out on how to address the 700,000. So it is something we've applied for, and we will continue to apply for it as long as we are in a shortfall. Last week, it was brought up that City of Long Beach has a solution to the EHV program. We've communicated with the City of Long Beach. They are pretty much where we are. The only action that they've taken is, again, they've asked for the waiver, received the waiver, and are placing their EHVs onto their waiting list. The City of Long Beach has said that they are in a shortfall. They have no mechanism of addressing the EHVs. They will just be sitting in their wait list until they're out of a shortfall, until they have enough vouchers to address the EHVs.
Okay.
So in a ways, this is a unique dilemma for us compared to the other peers. But my question directly right now is, in the shortfall, the $700,000 methodology shortfall, are you still waiting for the analysis updates?
Yes, we've asked for an update on the analysis, and we should be receiving that soon, given that we were, and PIH notice came out on how to address those shortfalls. So we should hear from HUD soon on how to address this, how much our actual shortfall is, and what we need to apply for.
And that will complete it?
I'm sorry?
That will complete it?
What's completed? Sorry.
The methodology.
Yes, we should get an update on where we are with the shortfall.
Okay.
And yeah.
Is there any other questions you would like to, is this a conclusion of your responses?
Yeah, I have more slides, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make it quick. Another issue that was brought up was that staff was dedicating 65% of La Casa funding towards staffing. This was an unfortunate error. The actual, on the right side, was what was presented to council. That is what was submitted to La Casa as our budget. There's only 10% allocated to staffing, 14% to oversight, supplies, operational needs. Less than 24% of our funding was dedicated to those types of services. The rest is direct assistance. Unfortunately, between the time we presented the report to what was published, there was a typographical error where the salaries and the direct assistance were flipped. And the individual that saw this document assumed that we dedicated 65% of our funds to salaries. That's just not the case. La Casa has strict rules on how much you can dedicate towards staffing. They would never have approved our budget had we taken something like that, which we would have never had taken. What was presented to council is what was submitted to La Casa on the right side.
Where does this error exist that someone who is interested in following city proceedings would have found it and assumed accurately because they're looking at a city document on an official page?
Right.
Unbeknownst that there was some sort of gross and unfortunate clerical error.
Right. Mayor Kasakian, I believe it was the resolution of appropriation. So after the presentation to council, when the resolution was drafted, the error likely appeared on the resolution of appropriation. It has since been corrected, but it was an unfortunate error, and
it's more than unfortunate, right? Because I think that leads everyone to believe the
Right.
worst of what people are assuming about government nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we apologize for that error. Additional comments on La Casa as far as an RFP that was issued. La Casa issued several RFPs, and they were primarily for developers, nonprofit organizations, and jurisdictions that don't receive direct assistance from La Casa. As you know, we are a handful of agencies that receive direct assistance from La Casa. And for that reason, we are often not permitted to apply for these RFPs. We have reached out to La Casa to get clarification on whether we would have qualified for a said RFP that was brought up. Unfortunately, they would not respond to us as it is an active RFP. They said that at this time we cannot give you direction or information on the RFP until it's resolved.
And has La Casa dispersed any funds to date to any agencies?
So the way that funding works with La Casa is that we would have to draw from the funds. We have not yet begun drawing funds. Council, if you recall, approved what was called the GRAS program, Glendale Rental Assistance Program, to address emergency situations. We have not begun to draw down for that program. So the funding is available, it's with La Casa, but we have not taken any of it on.
But that was the portion of the La Casa, am I correct in remembering that that's the portion of La Casa funds that are for homelessness prevention?
Right, there's several La Casa funds, one being for construction. The RPHP portion was specifically, the numbers we are looking at, that is for homeless prevention. And it is a temporary assistance. I'd like to mention that as well.
All right, anything else before we invite up the?
A few more things, I apologize.
Is this the last one before?
Yes,
All right, there's-
yes, last one. So in our report, we mentioned the number 1411 as our active vouchers. There, in the presentation that was sent to us, there was a claim made that we misrepresentation of that there's 35 additional active vouchers since an earlier report that we've brought to council. It's just an issue of not counting 38 additional vouchers that we have received throughout the years that we used to identify as fair share vouchers. In our report, we combined them with our regular HCV because there's really no difference. In the past, we identified them as fair share. But when you take into account the fair share vouchers, the claim that we've had an increase in 34 vouchers from a few months ago is inaccurate. We have the same amount of active vouchers. In fact, we have 4 less active vouchers than we did a few months ago. A few months ago, we had 1377, we have 1373. In addition to the 38 fair share that was not counted in the earlier number, makes it 1411. This has not been brought to you yet, but it was going to be part of a presentation, and we just wanted to address that before.
So right now you're frozen at 1411?
Yes, basically.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, all right, finally. Ms. Cash.
Funding, is this PIH 2026?
Madam Clerk.
Or does anyone? do you
Oh,
know?
6 minutes, because she has
Yeah,
to.
sorry, this is just to clarify for the shortfall funding, because I was looking up the notice as well. I want to make sure I was looking at the right, for shortfall funding, is it PIH?
I'm sorry, I don't clearly understand.
That's fine, because you were mentioning the shortfall funding from HUD. Which PIH number is that? The one that just came out?
Mr. Mayor,
Wait, so,
Yeah.
sorry. Ms. Cash, what is your question? If you can address the council, please, and staff.
Okay, because I was curious, I was reading it as well. So let me start from the top. I know what this looks like. Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you. I have been in this room a lot. I've come at you with numbers, slides, deadlines. If we can please go to slide 6 over here. I've been very, very detail oriented. Can we go back to the one with the figure? I have come to you, talk to you about the urgency of the situation, and I just want to touch base because I think there's been perhaps a mischaracterization or misunderstanding of why I'm asking the questions I'm asking. Because as you'll see at the bottom of the slide, I wrote, right, there can be possible explanations. And I had written so many notes. I had come in prepared. I wanted to talk about what is the difference between something symbolic and something concrete. And for me, the reason why I am here, and I want to address the fact that the questions I've been asking, the way my questions and concerns for these families have been framed, I believe is not accurate to the actual public record, nor to the spirit. Because I've asked myself, why do I keep showing up here? Why am I taking diligent notes? What is driving me here? And I realized it's because Glendale's identity as a city is being threatened. What I mean by this is the practical reality. This is not symbolic, this is concrete, this is practical. 188 families in this city are going to be left on the streets at some point if we do nothing. And I asked myself, how is it somebody named Ani, who grew up in Glendale, lived in different parts of the world, would come back and feel so passionately about this? It's because this is our city. This is where I grew up. This is where these families who are of different age groups and different life situations, this is where they need help as the most vulnerable people in our city. And what I have been asking and advocating for is to enable motion one, option one, with a federal waiver, because this mechanism is not just symbolic, it is an actual concrete pathway that starts a procedural mechanism for when the funding comes into place. I heard a lot about we've heard, we are waiting on, it has not yet been confirmed. If we could please go to slide 18. I have heard a lot about things up in the air and waiting on HUD. I have not heard about concrete ways forward, which this waiver, by the way, is also something that reduces our dependency on TPVs. Because TPVs, as we've been told, the federal option, we're waiting to hear back. Dates keep shifting, but you cannot say that is the way forward for our action as a city. What I'm here to push for and what I truly believe in, I had written so much, I'd looked into so much, and I thought to myself, what is it about Glendale that makes it the jewel city? Why am I here? Because we have values, because we care for each other. We don't care if you're first or second generation refugee. We don't care if you understand how to speak one's language. We care about doing things right. And so there are a couple of things I want to address. Our lack of inaction, our lack of action, sorry, is something that has indeed, yes, cost us banking $188,000 if we were to have enacted it. Our peers who are city-run agencies have enacted this mechanism. I had seen the presentation. I appreciated the level of detail. Real recognizes real. But our most structurally, I would say, one of our most structurally similar peers in Long Beach adopted this. They kept it simple. They took on the federal pathway as a mechanism, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a concrete availability while they look for other ways forward. If we are to depend on just TPVs as one pathway, if we're to just depend on things up in the air, I ask you, what is symbolic versus what is concrete? Because we have options, and we know there was money, and there is money still, should this come through. I want to also emphasize that we have the same priorities. Nobody here is actually misaligned, and I have never characterized anything as being a guaranteed pathway. What I'm saying is our peers have enacted this. It is one procedural mechanism and a tiered system, questions of equity, questions of equality. These are fair questions to ask, but I am also asking and pointing out in my questions, why is it we are told 3 months ago by the same department there are approximately 1,000 people on the waiting list, and then the number today is 722. That is nearly a drop of 30% in the reported figures. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm looking to find a solution together in the simplest possible way without adding more work on our route. Because between the federal possibilities, the LA Measure A funds that can also be used in these situations, we don't need to think about the worst case scenario or all or nothing. We are enabling procedural levers that our peers have done. Again, I wrote so much, I wanted to say so much, and I think part of why this is so important to our identity is, frankly, yeah, it's been a quarter of a century since the waiting list situation had been sorted out. I think this is all indicating to us we need to take a sharper look at the reality that is being faced today, at the people we can help, and in what ways. And so if we adopt the federal waiver with simple preference language, similar to Long Beach, instead of a tiered this or that creates more work for us, I think we can find a way forward and say that we did something concretely rather than just keep waiting.
All right, thank you. Next speaker.
Can I ask a question?
Of the speaker, sure.
Yeah, so you're suggesting for us to take option one, which is pursue hard waiver? Okay, so they will place 188 families on the Section 8 waiting list, basically.
Yes, to clarify, and thank you, Councilmember Garabedian, for this question and for the opportunity to send information. I'm saying this, we should enact the waiver with the same language Long Beach did, which is displaced by government action, because it's broad, it gives us time, right, for when the funding comes in
Okay,
to
no,
sort it out.
let me ask my question. Meanwhile, while they're on the waiting list of Section 8 and this funding runs out, what happens to them at that time? Because they can be on the waiting list like 700-800 other people who are on the waiting list for the last 20 years, and they don't get the vouchers. If we put them, let's say, for some strange reason, everyone on that list agrees for 188 families to get in front of the line. So if I'm there, I won't agree, because I would say I've been waiting for 20 years. But if you place them on that list and there's no funding and our funding runs out, what happens at that time? So I want to understand what Long Beach did, because if they place them on that list and there's no funding, I want to understand what's the point.
So I think the point of why we're doing this is to enable the procedural mechanism for the possibility, because it is also showing proactivity. It is showing we're opening up a pathway. For me, the way I also think about this, if we're relying just on TPVs from the federal funding pathway, that's one dependency. But if there's also LA County or possible state money coming in, right, and the way that these funds work, we should enable our options. We lose nothing by doing this.
Thank you. That's all the question I have. But what I want to close with on this aspect is, if there are fundings coming in, we could have just get people out of our Section 8 wait list, the ones that are on there for 20 years or 15 years or more than 20 years. There are no other fundings, but that's the problem for the last 20 years. There are no additional fundings for us to get these people off the waiting list.
Thank you. Let's give everyone the opportunity to speak. So the next speaker is now Linda Neumeyer, and then followed by Emmy Knofshadian. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a knotty problem, and that's putting it very mildly. And I've been in many of your meetings, and I've heard the suffering and the frustration that you have with this. And I've also worked in the community and talked to tenants. And I don't have an answer either, but I have a couple of questions and maybe something that would come along. First, I want to say again that I've said before, voting matters. DOGE's goal was to cut 40% to 50% from HUD. And I don't think they quite succeeded at 50%. They only cut 780 employees. But a lot of those employees took early retirement, and they were also, and then HUD lost a lot of institutional memory. And they also fired Doge rocks. They also fired probational people that were already trained. So even though Doge did not meet their goal of cutting HUD by 84%, they might have done something that affects us. And so sometimes when I hear these problems that we have in the city, I always think, is this a harbinger of things to come? And how can we be prepared, or what can we do to shore up or think differently, maybe even just think differently about our problems? That was one bit of information, but I also wanted to say that I wanted to look at who are the landlords who are collecting these rents from the EHVs. I'll introduce one to you. Miss Parunakian's landlord, she had lived in the apartment for 15 years, and she was paying $700 in rent at the time that her rent went up to $2,400 when the building was sold, which was legal. Again, this is part of Glendale's housing, this was legal. The landlord took it over. Don't know the details exactly, but I do know that her rent went up to $2,400. Why did her rent go up to $2,400? It went up because that was the maximum he could get from EHVs. Now they have tenants moving into her building that are being charged less. They're charged $2,200. These are all just one-bedroom apartments. Now, some of you, I'm sorry, I thought I had longer time. I do apologize.
No worries. Did you wrap up? Did you get to what you wanted to get to?
Yeah.
One sentence to close out.
One sentence, that's a good one.
Not a run-on.
All right, so this is it. In building a political community in Glendale that's going to be more active, why don't we invite the landlords to come to these meetings?
Okay.
And just sit and listen to the struggle?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next speaker is Emi Gnovshadian, who will be using translation assistance, so please let's increase her time to allow for that.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Ես Glendale-ի 332 West Lomita շենքի բնակիչ եմ։
I reside at 332 West Lomita Street.
Ես երկու անգամ իմ Section 8-ից զրկվում եմ։
I'm going to lose my Section 8 voucher for second time.
Denied.
Առաջի անգամ ես իմ մայրիկի խնամակալն եմ եղել 8 տարի։
I was my mom's caregiver for 8 years.
And երբ իմ մայրս մահացավ, ինձ Section 8 չտվեցի։
When my mom passed away, they didn't give me the voucher.
Որտեվ ասին դու խնամակալ ես, պատճառը դա բռնեցի։
And the reason for that, because I was the caregiver.
Եթե խնամակալ չլներ, քեզ կտային։
If I wasn't the caregiver, I would get the voucher.
Դու 20 թվից մինչև ես 23 թիվը լրի մուծել եմ։
From 2020 to 2023, I paid the full rent.
And 23 թվից մեր շենքը գնեցին։
In 2023, our building was sold.
Ու մեզ վտարում էին այդ շենքից։
And we were being evicted from that building.
Մենք դիմեցինք ձեզ, դուք մեզ Section 8 տվեցիք։
We approached you and you gave us Section 8 vouchers.
Որի համար շնորհակալ եղանք ձեզանից։
For which we are thankful for.
Բայց դրանից հետո մեզ հիմա նամակ եկե, որ պետք է ազատենք, որովհետև դա ժամանակավոր է եղել։
But after that, we received a letter that we have to give up that voucher and we have a deadline.
Բայց մեկ այն ժամանակ մեզ ոչ մեկը չի զգուշացրել, որ ժամանակավոր է։
Nobody told us that this was temporary.
Եվ ես էլ մեծ գումար եմ ծախսել տունը վերանորոգել։
I spent a lot of money on renovating that apartment.
Հիմա նոր վերջացրել եմ, հիմա ասում են դուրս եկեք այդտեղից։
I just finished renovating it and they're telling us to leave that apartment.
Եթե մենք այն ժամանակ իմանայինք ժամանակավոր էր, մենք չէինք վերցնես վաուչերները։
If we knew that at that time that this was temporary, we wouldn't take those vouchers.
Թող ինքը դատի տար մեզ, մեր գործեր ընկներ դատարան։
He could have sued us and then we could have gone to court.
Դատարանը կարող է ավելի լավ պաշտպաներ մեր շահերը։
And the courts could have done better job defending our rights.
Որովհետև սա մեզ համար ավելի վատություն եղավ։
Because this is worse for us.
Խնդրում եմ մեր իմ այս պահանջը ընդառաջել։
I ask you to please take this into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is, I believe, Liana Parunakian, followed by Rami.
Good evening, everybody. I speak in English, but I just want you next to me. Hello, council members and Mayor Kasakian.
One moment, please. Yes.
Are we giving the speaker 6 minutes?
Are you going to speak in English or in Armenian?
English, but I only.
In case he is. Let's go with 3, and if we need Mr. Sogomonian to assist, then we can add just a little bit of time to the balance. But let's reduce it to 3. Please proceed.
So, Mayor Kasakian, congratulations on your new position. I hope you will help the residents stay in their homes. I'm a resident of same Lomita apartments as me, and you know history, most of you know this history, Lomita apartments.
Speak in the microphone, please.
Yeah, if you can have blanket.
As you remember, the new landlord was trying to evict us without reason. Actually, there was a reason to increase the rent 4 to 5 times. Only 5 families in our building was qualified for EHV vouchers. We started to pay with this program in 2024. And now after even not 2 years, we got that letter that funding ended soon due to for some miscalculation, as they told us. Is it true? How can someone play with people's life, old people, retired or disabled people? And I don't believe it's miscalculation. And what would you say about the responsible employees of some employees of housing authority who presented this program to us as a permanent program? I always carry my documents with me. I have them with me now. It confirmed that I received not a temporary program, but this is housing choice voucher, which is essentially same as Section 8 voucher. This is there is no word on my document saying that this program will last until 2030, but now even early. You may say this is not important now, but it is very important for me because I have refused another program that I was waiting for that for 11 years. And I was selected and I refused it because I didn't know this will be temporary. And please don't point me back to that programs because I'm tired of fighting with different authorities. And also they don't accept me back because they said you rejected it, you refused it. Please let us live in our homes. Generally speaking, there were 2 negative impacts that I have experienced from this program. One that I have already mentioned about I refused another benefit. And the other one is that
Please continue.
if I knew emergency temporary, we would stay, fight with the court, and even every year they increased 8%, it will be much less than 2,400 now in 2 years. It was 700. In 2 years, it's 2,400, my 1 bedroom, not even renovated, in old condition.
Sorry.
And
2
now
bedroom, you
they
said?
give 1 bedroom, yeah.
Sorry, 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom?
1 bedroom.
1 bedroom.
2,400. And they give now maybe less than 2,400 to new tenants, not in Section 8 program, and also.
Please conclude in 1 sentence because your time is up.
Thank you. And again, please put us in Section 8, not on the top, not in the middle, not in the bottom. Just please switch us to Section 8 program.
Thank you.
Keep us in one group. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, Council, public. Good afternoon. I really don't know where to begin from this bogus affordable housing initiatives or low-income people that are suffering. I've been following low-income people since 2023. Yeah, I'm here actually support them. And I don't know, you mentioned that they even renovated their units. That's outrageous. And they're being charged that rent. Well, but after all, I want to talk about affordable housing and the lottery system of the affordable housing, which is, even if we participate in California lottery, our chances are more to win the California lottery than these bogus program initiatives. Yeah, I mean, even if we win, if we won this lottery, they aren't really affordable. They're too high. Mister, I'm talking to you. So somebody told me that even those rents are being determined by the housing.
Please,
By the
please
housing.
address council.
Sorry,
Well,
please stop.
what you gonna,
Please
what's
stop
gonna
her
do
time.
about
Please
it?
stop her time.
What you gonna do about it if I address your staff?
Ms. Rami, would you mind please just addressing us? I know that there's a lot that you are concerned about, but I think both your time is precious and the council
Well,
and the person who's waiting to
yeah,
speak
well,
after you. Continue.
Yeah, this way I've been informed that even the housing authorities have to determine the pricing, the pricing on the rents on those units, on those affordable units. Yeah, they're not really affordable. Those units are, I'm a resident Burbank right now, but I've participated in those California housing, affordable housing lotteries. So that's why I'm here. Meanwhile, I want to support rent burden people, rent burden residents. So yeah, those are, I mean, even your affordable housing initiatives are not, that's bogus. So yeah, I would say that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then we have one caller, which is Fernando Roldan. You would, wait, Ms. Rami, did you want to ask a question, Ms. Rami?
Ms. Rami, you mentioned that you live in Burbank today, currently?
Yes, but I was a resident of Glendale
No, I know,
for
I
30
know.
years.
I know you. I'm well aware of your residence here in the past. Do you know how many affordable housing city of Burbank built in last 5 years?
That's the issue. That's problem as well. I think now it's coming like 100 something. It's coming up. 100 something affordable units. That's
only 100.
I've been a resident of Burbank for over a year.
Okay.
So I'm not that much following those
thank you.
initiatives.
That's all I wanted.
All right, thank you. Next, we have one caller, Fernando Roldan.
Fernando, you're on air. You have 3 minutes.
Thank
Go
you, Housing Board, members of the, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and of course, members of the public of my fine city of Glendale. First of all, Mr. Mayor, congratulations on and welcome back as mayor. Really quickly, you've heard most of what people said, and of course, my concern with this whole emergency transition with the housing vouchers are one, of course, you people talked about the seniors and people with disabilities, especially people with disabilities, because I've said it before and I've said it again. Another part of this voucher that needs to be transitioned is the fact that we need to make sure, and I say we because I like to make sure that my city is wheelchair accessible, especially in the bathroom areas. So the bathrooms can include removing bathtubs, so of us can use shower chairs to get in and all. That's one. Two, some of the buildings may be a little bit old, and maybe there's some wiring or electrical shocks, like where I'm living at, that affects the whole body and all. And sometimes we need the help of our city and all to do that. For me, I also need to remind the mayor and the council that this is an election year. So what does it have to do with anything? It kind of does have to do with everything, because with the fact that we're going to have new governor, new leadership in the assembly, probably high time that with this whole emergency housing voucher transition with flood and all, that hopefully the new governors and the new legislation get involved with all this, so we get all and help each other on this. Because I think this is really a matter of saying, okay, the what ifs or who do we look out for, or who do we call in these kinds of situations. So, as usual, that's my 2 cents on that, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, because I believe that we're all going to have to work together on this to make these housing transitions safer, better, modern, and more accessible for all of us to live in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that is, those were all the speakers that we had on this item. So now we have the options that are before us that were outlined. Each one has certain implications, and we are all facing, everyone here on this dais, including staff, as well as obviously the speakers who spoke, what we do agree on is that we do have a responsibility. We have to make sure that we can help the individuals that have been in this situation. How we do that, perhaps we may not entirely agree on, but I think it's clear that we're not trying to keep anyone out from a home. We just have to figure out what is the best way to do it. Now, some of these may be symbolic, some of these may have actual impacts. And I also want to urge everyone that come Thursday when we do our first budget study session to follow the city's budget situation to get a clearer picture in addition to what we're discussing here today. Who would like to go first? Councilmember Garpetian, would you like to?
Sure. This is a difficult situation for everyone, for the public, for the 188 families, as well as the council, because of the budgetary issues. I have a couple of questions, and I can maybe make my comments. So the THOD is coming up with $600+ million budget. We don't know how they're going to allocate it, and we were told that probably in June or May or June, it would be kind of decided what has to be done to it.
So the original THUD bill from previous years averages around 300 million. This new allocation added an additional 300 million for a total of 600 million.
Right.
That 300 million is what's in question, whether HUD will allow agencies to use that towards EHVs. That's the part that is unclear at the moment, and that is the direction we're seeking from HUD. Hopefully, we will hear something later, sooner than later.
Okay, so we will hear from that project before before September, basically. That's what we're hoping.
That's the hope, yes.
Okay, so this program is set to end in September or December. We don't know that either, right? 100%. We don't have a solid answer.
Our 100% estimate is September, but from communications with HUD, we're hopeful till December.
Okay, so what I want to do is be positive and look at this in a positive lens and say it'll go to the December, and December is a toughest time for people not to have these vouchers because it's the Christmas time, New Year's, everything. So based on the funds availability that we have at $4.1 million, what I would like to do, we have 11 families that we can put on the affordable housing project that we have right now, right? So that will reduce the monthly cost to almost $30,000 instead of $350,000. So if we have extend this program for 6 months for all families, it will go, and basically from today, it will be a year for everyone across the board. That will give us some breathing room to find out what the HUD is going to do, what the THUD bill is going to do, and then we can kind of, do you have a comment, Mr.? Oh, okay. So I think if we extend it 6 months beyond December, it will be a year. And at that time, I think we need to concentrate on the seniors that have disabilities, people who are able to work and they are not even 60 or 62. I think they have enough time to find out what they have to do at that time if there are no fundings. We have some funding beyond that. I think what I would like to do is just to give a peace of mind to everyone at this time to continue it for 6 months and go from there. As far as enrolling them in front of everyone else on Section 8 list when there is no funding for it, I don't know. I want to hear what my colleagues have to say on that. But that's where I am. I think we will have some more funding because of the THUD. I believe they will allow us to use some of it for our emergency an emergency housing voucher, the name is on it, it's emergency, it's not a permanent one. It's, otherwise, people who are on the Section 8 list will say, why are you giving it to them? I've been waiting for 20 years. Why are they getting it today with nothing, with no requirements, just because COVID happened? COVID happened for everybody. So people who are on Section 8 list, if I'm on Section 8 list, I'm going to object. I said, I want to get that emergency housing voucher if it's not emergency and it's permanent and it's not temporary. So that's where I am.
Okay, so just so we can keep track of it, did you follow Councilmember Garpetian's preferences on potentially what will be motion A and motion B? One is, I believe, the Section 8 wait list. The other is the Parkview selection plan.
And one last question is, on Section 8 program, the monthly allowance average is $1,682, but on the EHV program, it's $1,849. So if it's $200 times 188 families, it's another almost $40,000 extra a month. So that could pay for another 20 families per month. I mean, it's just, we have to look at all of it, maybe adjust the numbers, because if Section 8 is 1628, I don't understand why this one was 1842. Maybe she indicated it, and rightfully so, that the landlords knew how much the... Anyways, this is something that I just noticed in this, I don't know, 100-page report, so I wanted to bring it up.
I can address it if you'd like.
Please.
So the regular Section 8 vouchers, the payment standard is lower, so landlords can charge less. But for the EHVs, it's much higher, so our portion is much higher naturally. Not necessarily the rent is much higher, but our portion that covers EHV needs to be much higher than the HCV part of it. So that's why the average on the EHVs is $200 more. But you are right, if we take 11 out, we will have more funding for the EHVs, which would extend it further. So.
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at all of it at the same time. Thank you.
All right, who would like to weigh in next? All right, Councilmember Najarian.
Okay, so we're looking at preferences. Okay, my first preference is that members of the public don't insult your department the way you were insulted today. I think that's absolutely out of line. What the public maybe doesn't understand is that you've got a hell of a difficult job trying to make a short amount of money, a small amount of money, go a long way with many lives at stake. So that's preference number one. Preference number two is that we not use the word symbolic when we talk about bringing these emergency housing voucher recipients into the Section 8 program. In fact, it's very prejudicial to those individuals who are already in that program. Individuals who have waited, I believe it was in 2001 when it opened up. I hadn't even, 99. So we're talking about 28 years now, almost 27 years. These people those applicants did the very best they could, suffered through moving point systems where others behind them had a change of circumstance and became up, and they would therefore fall down on the waiting list. They have been through, I don't want to say hell, but very difficult times trying to maintain their sanity, waiting for this system. And we all have received calls from hundreds of people through the years. Where am I on Section 8? What happened? I was only 50 away. Now they tell me I'm 200 away. When am I going to get called up? It's been a very difficult situation. I don't think it would be fair at all to place anyone else in that Section 8 program, whether there's 1,000 or whether there's 700 or even if there's 400. That doesn't matter. These people played by the rules and have been waiting their time. We owe it not to insult them by letting others fall in. Preference number 3 is that we do earmark those EHV holders who qualify for the 62 and above in the Parkview residences of 11 units. And I also feel that we should try and make that funding of 4.1 go as far as we can in subsidies. But everyone has to realize this is a temporary program. They were extremely fortunate, blessed, when COVID hit in 2021, the American Rescue Act was enacted, and they had these emergency housing vouchers, which were temporary. In no way were they assigned a dedicated funding stream, which was going to give them a lifelong subsidy for their housing. That's just not the way it works. There is going to be a difficult moment when this 4.1 runs out. And if you're not selected as one of the lucky 11 who get selected in the Parkview, everyone has to know that. There is no guarantee. This is extremely fortunate situation where there is funding. You got the funding. Council is now taking funding from other areas and perhaps going to be giving you a year, 2-year reprieve of the inevitable. There is going to be a time in the future where that funding runs out and there is not going to be any money for it. You have to know that. You have to understand that and make changes and adapt in your lifestyle, with your families, or any other way, because we simply don't have the money. So those are my preferences, and I will leave it at that.
So you would be for which?
The Parkview?
Mm-hmm. The 11 people being?
Yes, 11 people in Parkview, and allocate the 4.1 as economically as possible to give as much assistance as long as possible to the remaining EHV holders. Okay. Whether it's one, whether it's two, I'm going to leave that detail to staff. I don't have a strong opinion on that. Each one is a very sympathetic group. Each tier, as you go up, is more sympathetic, but to try and make it stretch as long as possible.
So within the Parkview, accepting people or extending that for the lottery, there was some, you gave us options within that. Do you need us to clarify which options we need to select at this meeting, or is that going to come back to us, Mr. Fortney or Mr. Zadorian?
We'll be bringing Parkview back to you. All we need to know is if you want the 11.
Because there's a lot of choose your own adventure paths, like right now it's like this, then this. We're trying to get to as much of this as we can. Mr. Ajinian, you had a comment?
Yeah, this is an impression of mine, today's impression. I'm getting the impression that the public somehow thinks that there could be an on-the-spot arbitration here by our council when they come up here, and that's not available. That's not how we're trained for, or I'm trained for. But somehow the public has to be notified about that. There is no such thing as an on-the-spot judicial or arbitration here at the city council.
I think some people may be speaking in those terms, but I believe most everyone kind of understands that the wheels and gears of city government moves very slowly, and we're just here to deliberate, make decisions, to give direction to staff. But I appreciate that insight. Who from my remaining colleagues would like to weigh in? Councilmember Brotman.
I can go for it, yeah. I just have one question before I weigh in on that transfer of the EHVs to the HCV. So if we were to affect that transfer, does that position us better if, let's say, additional funding comes down the pike for the HCVs?
Councilmember Brotman, there is no official word from HUD that has any impact on it. At this time, we don't know. It's possible next week they put out a notice that says you must have your waiting list into your residents in the waiting list to serve them with certain funds. But at the moment, there is no word from HUD that impacts anything. If word does come down, we would still have the opportunity to ask for the waiver. We haven't been given a deadline to apply for that waiver. So that option will likely be open in the future. But at this moment, we have not received direction from HUD that it impacts anything one way or the other for agencies like ours who are in a shortfall and can't draw from that wait list.
Okay, but if, let's say the funding gets extended to the end of the year for the EHVs, and then at the end of the year, for whatever reason that, people end up coming off of the EHV, so now they have no voucher, right? And then if there's an opportunity, I guess, for the Section 8 vouchers, if there's additional funding, those people are not even part of the system. So they would have to, I mean, it would be like I guess the wait list would be open now. I don't know.
I believe the situation you're describing is if we get a windfall of money at some point in the future, they wouldn't be addressing the 188 that whose vouchers expired. The chances that we get a windfall are very low. If we do get additional funding to fix our shortfall and some where we can start drawing individuals, based on previous history, it's not going to be enough where we address all 188 or a significant amount of them. Maybe 1 or 2, 5, 10 in a year, depends on how much money we get, if we get that. But that is very hypothetical. I can't for certain say that we will receive any additional funds.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, does it give us any additional optionality? Like doing the transfer, does it position us in any way better for something that might come down the pike?
In that specific scenario, yes, if we receive additional funding, but only in something like that where the program has ended and we somehow receive a large lump sum of money to grow our program. But given the budget, that federal budget, it's not likely.
But there's also no real downside, is there?
Well, the only downside is the impact to the current list. So if we do receive some additional funding to assist 1-2 people a month, that would, instead of going to the current list, would go to the 188 if they fall in front of the 700.
Right. Okay. Okay, so I guess the Parkview recommendation seems straightforward, and I don't see why we wouldn't do that, so I support that. And I guess that'll be a lottery, and so we'll get 11 people taken care of right there. As for the getting the waiver from HUD and doing that transfer, you know, I guess at this point I would say let's wait and see. So not move forward with that. If we get notified that, you know, there's a deadline or there's some other information that comes forward, I hope you'll bring that to us on an emergency basis if need be, so that we don't miss any deadlines. Okay. And then on the 4.1 million, you know, it's pick one or the other. I mean, I could support just maintaining the entire 188 for an additional year. I don't really want to be in a position where I'm picking and choosing and cutting off categories and saying, you know, you're on your own. So I guess I would support the suggestion I think that Councilmember Garpetian made to just maintain everyone for another 12 months.
Is that correct?
No, I said, since we have hypothetically until end of the year,
yeah.
If you extend it another 6 months, that will be a year from today. And then we will still have almost $2 million at that time to decide which way we're going to go. So
so only
extend it for 6 months beyond December. That will be 1 year from today.
Essentially a year total, but you're saying add to the funding.
Okay, so basically we still have the funding. We could do the 12 months, but we're only committing to do 6 months initially.
Yes, and by that time, we will have all these answers questioned.
Right.
All these questions answered by.
I think that's a
HUD.
good suggestion.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Alsatian.
First, thank you to staff and just from my end as well. You're some of the most hardworking staff in this city, and I just want to say thank you because I know you guys always go above and beyond in trying to make ends meet for people and answer, especially during difficult times. So thank you for everything that you do. I'm in agreement with the Parkview. I'm okay with the 6 month that was recommended. I would like for us to, as part of the direction, to note that any of the updates that you receive, that council also receives within at least 30 days, or if there's quicker deadlines for us to meet. I don't want to lose on the opportunity to apply for a waiver down the line, but I can see where the votes are going, so I'm happy with that. And we would send out a notice to the residents of some sort after this, because I want to make sure people have a peace of mind that, you know, for the time being, that it's being taken care of, and I think that's one of my main concerns here right now.
So Councilmember Sutherland, for Parkview specifically, we will have to come back to you for an admin plan adjustment. That's going to take some time. For the subsidy, we can inform resident that this is going to be available once your EHV expires. So we can inform them of the subsidy, that the program is available. We can do that relatively quickly. That's the only other option, yeah.
Can I just ask, for those that spoke on the issue of the 6 months, is it 6 months from the end of when the program gets ended by HUD, or is it June? Because that's, I mean, we're assuming it's going to end in December, but if it, for some reason it
It's 6, I mean, my
Months
thinking
from
is,
when the program ends.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
date specific.
I just
because
wanted to
hopefully it'll be
clear.
6 months from December,
And I,
from the end of December.
okay.
I think that's everyone. Am I correct? If anyone objects, please.
Yeah, and then if they come back and say, hey, it's going to end in September, then just bring it back to us so we can determine what that is.
6
Because
months
we don't
after.
want to.
Okay.
After the program ends.
All right, thank you. So my question, I know you mentioned, Mr. Zadorian, shortfall funding that we're hoping for from, what was it, PIH, Public Indian Housing, whatever it stands
Yeah.
for. I'm
I
sorry.
apologize, Mayor. I want to correct myself. Staff has been reviewing the PIH notice. It applies to our project-based vouchers only, so ours hasn't been released yet. But the specific notice that was just released was specific to project-based vouchers, not the Section 8 program.
Because it's only for agencies that run or have a housing, they run housing units or own
Yes,
housing units?
project-based, yes.
Okay,
So we're still waiting for the one that addresses Section 8.
okay. All right. I'm glad we clarified that. That's important. So I believe, you know, given a number of choices of, that are all difficult, I think that my colleagues have landed on the best one. So I support that without furthering the meeting any more than it needs to. And knowing that staff will work with interested parties, residents, the people who come here who have expressed concerns, will try to find the best solution for these individuals. I have some other questions I'd like to raise at a future meeting, such as, you know, what I need, and it doesn't have to be a public meeting, but I would like to, again, better understand our voucher system, who is on it, who came off, how we went from 20,000 to 1,000 to 700, or from 20,000 to 700. All of that, I think I need a refresher on. So if any other colleagues would like to join me on that or have their own separate briefings, please let staff know. With that, who would like to make a motion moving forward?
I'll make the motion. Can I make one comment before I make the motion, because I failed to do this? I want to reiterate what Councilwoman Asatrian said. You guys, you know, the way you laid this out, it was, you know, it's very complicated stuff, but you've laid it out in a way that's really easy to understand. Really appreciate all the energy and effort you've put into this. You've done a fabulous job. Thank you. And I'll make the motion then.
So we're clear, so the report had 3 motions, but obviously they can be in one. The consensus seems to be obviously on the wait list, that defer that action, and then do 6 months on the subsidy, and then the Parkview, there's consensus on that as well. So we'll put those into one motion.
All those three.
That's the direction.
Yes.
And I believe everyone is supporting the deferring of action with the understanding that it doesn't have some serious consequence to it. So if at any point we find out there is, I believe everyone would want to be pulled into some sort of emergency meeting to amend our decision. We all think that we're trusting staff.
Yeah.
So we want to do that, yes.
Very quickly, for years, almost over a decade, there were so many people out there that wanted to get on the Section 8 list, and we told them the list is closed, and we didn't accept them. I don't think it's a matter of fairness as well. I don't think it's fair to just say, okay, let's open the list today and put them in the front, or put them on the list while people would been trying to get on it for years and years and years. And the other issue is, if you are, this is a question maybe, if you are receiving some sort of like emergency voucher, right? Can you be on the other programs as well? No. You can't receive a emergency housing voucher and also try to receive Section 8, or you can't. You have to one or the other. So it's just a matter of fairness. That's all I have to say.
All right, well, we're going to move forward with this as best as we can, and then we'll revisit it when we can as well. All right, so a motion has been made by Councilmember Brotman, seconded by Councilmember Garpetian. Can we have the roll call on this item, please?
Yes. Council members Asadrian?
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Kasakian.
Yes, and also asking staff to let us know what we need to do with our federal representatives to get definitive answers from HUD. Thank you. Chair Ajinian, may we have I'll move that we adjourn for Housing Authority,
Second.
and may we have a motion to adjourn for council.
So moved.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff.